It's been a little bit since we did a YouTube live, so I figured now would be a good time. It's a beautiful Friday night. And I'd like to talk dogs while I enjoy the evening. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to jump on. We'll go through the comments, and then we'll get started. Bethany says, thank you, Haz, for the emails concerning my government not allowing me to buy one of your puppies. I'm still bummed, but we'll continue on and try to get my other dogs BH. No worries, Bethany. Yeah, we got to figure out what to do for our American clients that want to buy puppies from us. Because, like I told you guys earlier, the CDC passed a recent guideline that, unfortunately, will not allow any shipment of puppies under the age of 6 months into the United States. So what we'll probably be doing for our U.S. clients is selling puppies, but only above the stipulated age. So that will mean that we'll have to kind of do some jumpstart training, obviously, while the puppies are waiting here to get to the required age to go over the border. Obviously, there's a cost associated with that. Obviously, that's going to reduce, how many U.S. clients we can service. It's very unfortunate, but that's what we can do right now. So that's what's going on with the puppies, which is really sad because, I'm really excited about what we're doing with our breeding program right now. It was fantastic. So we got to figure this out. We will figure it out. I'm sure there's even a better solution, but hasn't come to us yet. We got New Mexico in the house, Michigan. Soulstar says, thank you for all the free content. You've inspired me to begin attending police canine trainer school in my state starting this July. I'm happy to hear it, and I wish you all the best. Ty's Dog Vlog says, hey, Haz, I watched a video a while ago and you mentioned that you're a fan of Disturbed. What's your favorite song by them? I don't have a favorite song. I just like some of the stuff that they have on. Right? I like some of the stuff that they have on. But it's not, I don't know. I know some people are really into music. I'm not, it's just on in the background. I couldn't tell you the name of different songs, so on and so forth. Tarek says, hey, Haz, how long is your pro trainer certification course? Depends on you. Some people can get it done in a couple months. Some people, it's going to take them 6 months. It's going to take them a year. Depends on you completely, right? Will I have any hands-on courses in the future? We might offer some hands-on apprenticeships in the future, but at this time, we really don't. Mexico in the house. Cool. So yeah, we're going to get to current news since we've got, I think, enough people on here to get started. By the way, guys, please, as always, I ask you that you hit the like button. It boosts the live in the algorithm, and all the people that subscribe to us will see it. So hit that like button. It costs you absolutely nothing. And as always, I try to answer your questions and give as much value as I can give in these lives. So, anyways, moving right along. First order of business, congratulations to Ian Atkinson in the UK on passing his pro trainer certification. For those of you wondering how Ian did and what he did, the video is available up on our YouTube channel, and it is a fantastic video. It's probably the best, no, it is the best pro trainer test to date. He used 4 dogs at the same time, and he did all the requirement. He fulfilled all the requirements with those 4 dogs. So very impressive, and congratulations to Ian. And Ian contacted me soon after I reviewed his test and informed me that he had been provided a wonderful offer by a training company that was close to him. So he's going to be offering training services in conjunction with that company. I might as well shout them out. I think they're Voodoo K9. So congratulations to Ian. Congratulations to them. They've got a fantastic trainer on staff now. And I'm really happy to see the success that our pro trainers are having. You know, the people that are certifying in the course, the people that are doing as much as they can do. Guys like Ian, you know, he didn't meet the minimum standard. He went above and beyond the minimum standard. He took the standard and put it on another level. I don't think it's going to be very you know, easy to beat him. I'll be very surprised if anyone beats him, quite frankly. I mean, 4 dogs at the same time, showing high level of functional control over those dogs, completely off leash and high levels of distraction. It was a very impressive test. I strongly recommend that those of you that have the opportunity to go back and watch the video. It's the most recent Pro Trainer video in our catalog, so feel free to check it out. I believe it says he took the test with 4 dogs. So yes. So that's Ian. The out course, guys. The out course is out. So I did. I finished a course recently. I've been working on it for months. It is a course on how to train your dog to let go. I realize that there's a lot of nuance to this because you've got pet dogs, you've got puppies, you've got working canine, you've got dogs that already, let's say, have a lot of conflict with the out. You know, police dogs that won't let go, sport dogs that have problems letting go, you know, dogs that just don't have clean outs. And, you know, there's not a lot of solutions out there. There's very simplistic courses on it, but I've never really seen an advanced course that kind of addresses everybody. So I'm very happy that I finally finished this course. I have the course show, in the course, I include how to train the positive out. And yes, I do train the out with positive training methods. And then also how to fix, you know, maybe an out that was not properly trained, how to use tools like the e-collar and the out, slip lead, so on and so forth. You know, all the different ways that you can train an out and fix an out with any type of dog. It's covered in the course. So those of you that are in my that are gold members, which means you have access to all the courses, it's automatically in your catalog. So congratulations. Go watch that course, enjoy it. Those of you that have the sport dog bundle, for those of you wondering what I'm talking about, this is my online training courses, links in the description below. You guys already have access to this course because it's included in the sport dog bundle. It's included in the elite gold, so you guys can watch the out. I guarantee you this. No one has made an out course like this, right? Because let's just face it, a lot of trainers are afraid to show all that stuff, or they don't want to admit to doing all that stuff, right? There's a lot of different ways to train an out. There's a lot of different ways to fix an out. I don't hold anything back. I show you guys everything. And, you know, I give you a lot of different, you know, options. So you can do whatever you want to do with the out, but I give you the options and the tools in the course. So. Eric says, how's the dock diving build going? Well, the pool went up today. So the dock diving facility is coming along really, really well. It is the nicest dock diving dock I've ever seen. I'll take full video and pictures of it, obviously, when we put the grass down on the dock. But it is beautiful. It is beautiful. I think I'm probably going to have the best looking dock diving facility in Ontario once all of this is said and done. But that being said, my partner in Ottawa, I don't know, he might not agree with me. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. What else we got here? We said, what's your favorite non-shepherd breed to work with? I like working with labs. Labs are nice. German Shepherd says, I mentioned before GSD couldn't compete with Mal. According to Richard Hines, Miami Dog Whisperer, I was wrong. GSD, the only dog that can compete with Mal. What do you mean? Compete with Mal for what? You know, if we're talking about, you know, in the top level of you know, they're similar dogs, but they're also different dogs. And it really depends on what you want exactly in a dog and the type of dog you like to train. But they can certainly be competitive. We got Queensland. You are the best. Thank you for all the courses. Love watching young Gage in training, knowing how far he's come. Well, you know, he's not so young anymore. You know, that's the wonderful thing about YouTube. You guys can literally watch Gage grow up. You can go way back to when he was a few months old. You can see my early training videos with him. And you can see him now competing for his like 4th IGP3 at the Quebec Regional and winning the whole thing. And you can watch that 4 plus year progression, it's all on YouTube. You guys can see all the things that, all the way that he developed, all the way the training developed over time. It's all there, absolutely free on YouTube. So I strongly recommend you check that out. Rachel says, Ian was amazing. Thanks for sharing. Indeed, he was. We got Onyx, my old Gage's daddy, by the way, in the house. Onyx and I watching the live. Many, many likes from us. I appreciate you guys. I have on, so Duval Canine says, I have an interview on Monday. The job is dog trainer for service dogs for veterans. Well, that sounds like fun. I wish you all the best. Michael Menezes says, do you think IGP will be banned in Australia? Yes, I do. I do think it will be banned in Australia. I mean, Australia is the land of bans, right? Like, if you look at, typically, when they try to ban something, the more liberal, no offense to those of you that are liberals, but yes, offense, right, I guess, the more liberal a place is, the more likely things will be banned, because the fundamental realities of what liberal politics is now is basically big government in control of everything. They know best, and they will tell you what is best for you, your dog, your kids, your grandmother, and everybody else, right? Alexander says, hi, Has, did the IGP people already ban you? Just kidding. I love the video you made about how the sport is dying. They haven't banned me yet. I hope they take it with the spirit that video was intended. It wasn't intended just to give offense. It was intended to kind of educate, right? Like, I want them to maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe there's already guys in there that are thinking a little bit progressively about what the sport needs if they want to have a sport in the near future. But maybe for some of them it will make them think a little bit. He says, I have a super hyper GSD. I'm having a hard time slowing her mind down. Any tips? You don't need to slow her mind down. You just need to train her. You need to give her structure. You need to give her outlets in which she can expend her energy and her hyperactivity. It's just like kids, right? Like, I don't try to slow my kids' minds down. I have young children. They run around. They're crazy. They have fun. But there's also rules, right? And the rules and the fundamental structure and boundaries and the management systems I have in place allow them to be crazy in a safe way, allow them to get it out of their system in a safe way, but also don't make that hellish for me, right? Hellish for my wife, right? We're able to allow them to enjoy themselves in a safe way, but not make it hellish for us, right? So this is why structure, and good functional training is so important for puppies, because it gives you the ability to give them that freedom to go and be puppies and have a great time, but also not make your life a living hell and build a whole bunch of bad habits that bite you in the ass in the future. Soulstar says, I'm so happy that there's still someone willing to stand against the force-free activist mobs. Here's the thing, it isn't without, a lot of people think I'm just talking here on YouTube and there's no price to pay. There is a price to pay, my friends. I'm not going to get into it, but let's just say that there is a price to pay, and you really got to know your stuff when you do what I do. I write very candidly in my book about, different methodologies in terms of addressing behavioral problems and training dogs. Needless to say, it's not for everybody. Some people really didn't like my book because, I'm very honest in there. I'm not there to fluff anyone's pillows. I'm there to tell the truth about, how to functionally train a dog. And of course, a lot of people loved it, but there's always those few people. Same with my social media, right? I'm not trying to appeal to everybody. There's a lot of people that aren't going to enjoy my social media content because of the way that I provide the information. Again, no sugarcoating, no fluffing the pillows, so to speak, providing just objective information, objective experience-based information, right? That fundamentally works, but it rubs some people the wrong way because they're used to having everything, sugar-coated, everything massaged, everything is like this act of, just convince me I'm not a bad person if I do that. It's like, no, if you're so, sensitive and fearful about, your virtue, and that you're worried that if you correct your dog, somehow you're going to be a bad person. I can't help you, right? I can't help you. I can't go through that thought experiment with you. I can't take you there. That's for you. You've got some work to do, you know? And I think fundamentally it's because so many people are just out of touch with how nature works, how the world works, objective reality, so on and so forth. So anyways, suffice to say that I'm not for everybody, and there is a price to pay for all of this stuff. And luckily, I really know my stuff. Okay, and again, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I know why I do what I do, right? So if someone comes to me, like, let's say, for example, the authorities come to me and say, "We heard you did X. Why?" Well, I can tell you why. I can tell you why I did X. I can explain it from a behavioral science perspective. I can explain it from an experience, more important than behavioral science. My experience. I can explain it from an experience perspective. I can explain why I did what I did, the benefits that why I did what I did have, and why I didn't do something else. Right? Why did I use a bonker in this instance and not a pinch collar or treats or a prong or a e-collar, or why didn't I use a harness here but I used a flat collar there? I can explain it all because I don't do things thoughtlessly. I try to be very, intuitive about, not intuitive, that's the wrong word. I try to be very analytical about my training. The systems that I use, the training systems that I use, the behavior approaches that we take with dogs, when we're addressing behavior problems, the tools that we use, everything has a reason, a purpose, and we need to be able to explain them. I have no problem explaining why I do what I do, right? And when you do this, like even if, let's say, the authorities were to call you, whatever the authorities happen to be for you, and I have dealt with the authorities a few times, as one could imagine, simply because I am who I am, and people enjoy calling them, right? People often that have never met me, people on the internet, right? They'll just call on me and whatever else. Anyways, I can explain everything I do. I can explain why I do it, and that's very important as a dog trainer. You should be able to do that, right? If you're a professional dog trainer, you should be able to explain everything you do and why you do it. And if you can't, maybe you should question why you're doing what you're doing. Hillary says, hoping for a course soon on the send out. The transition to the cold send is going slowly. I think I need to make it really easy for a while. Hillary, your instinct is correct. But you do actually remind me that I do have to make that course. And I have a couple of young dogs in training that I have not trained send-outs on yet. It's actually a very simple process. And I definitely will make a video on it. But that being said, ask me in the Facebook group. I'll explain to you I'll shoot a video for you that I'll put in the elite members group. This is the group for all the people that are in my online courses. They're in my elite members group on Facebook. I will shoot a video where I just talk, right? And I'll tell you exactly what I do and the steps that I follow to do it. It's quite a simple process, and it has worked for me across multiple dogs. Which of your dogs will you dock dive? I personally will not pursue the sport of dock diving. I'm sure I'll have my dogs jump off the dock because it's fun, but I'm not going to actually pursue the sport of dock diving. I have a trainer that works for me that actually does it with her 3 Belgian Malinois, all of which she got from me, actually, which is funny. And I think one of them is actually Gage's half-brother because it was a mix with a Mal. Oh, yeah, it was a Mal mix. So it was one of the herders that we did. So anyways, she's got like these 3 yellow dogs, and she does the dock diving with them. So she's going to actually be running our whole dock diving thing because that's her expertise. I'm sure I'll just have fun with the pool. Unsalted Sky says, I casually work with a Springer Spaniel. Love seeing the protection work you do. Appreciate you, Has. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Brian Mark says, good thing we don't have news regarding banning of IGP in the Philippines. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never heard the Philippines was planning on banning IGP. They're generally a fairly common sense people. I would be quite surprised if they did. We got Australia in the house. I think the dogs has likes are one with challenges. not Goldens and easy to train dogs. It's not that I don't like easy to train dogs. It's that for me personally, the type of sport that I pursue with my dogs, um, and my personal preference in the type of dog is a dog that has a little bit of independence, a dog that has some spice, right? A dog that's not everything nice. That's my personal preference when it comes to a sport dog, a competition dog. You know, it's very funny. I'll say this. A lot of people, you know, and this is for the sport dog people out there. So you guys are going to know what I'm talking about. Um, a lot of people, give me a second. A lot of people um, train for the Instagram. They train for the gram. Every training they do is for the gram because all the training that they see is on Instagram. All the training that they see is on Facebook. All the training that they see is on YouTube. And most of it is not real training. Every time they're training their dog for dog sport, it always is like everything has to like look perfect. The dog is always in the best light. You know, they've got all the tools, all the rewards. Everything is there to make the dog look as good as possible because they're very concerned with the look. That's what I fundamentally mean when I say training for the gram, training for TikTok, training for YouTube, right? They are basing their training off stuff that they've seen on social media, which isn't, there's nothing wrong with that inherently, but what you have to understand is most of these reels that you're seeing are the product of multiple takes. They're not the product of actual real objective training. So a lot of people, you know, when they get together and they're training at the club or they're training in a group or they're training at a seminar, they're always training for the gram, even if there's no cameras out, right? Because that's how they're used to training. And this is a big mistake. When I go somewhere different, right? When I'm not on my home field and I'm somewhere different, I am like, the best way to think of this is like a comedian, okay? If you know anything about comedians, you know that comedians don't just write their jokes down and go on in the big stadium. Like a guy like Dave Chappelle. He doesn't go to the big stadium and just go through his jokes. No. He writes his jokes, he comes up with all his jokes, but then what he does is he goes to small comedy clubs and he works it out in those small comedy clubs. He works it out. He sees how something works. He tries something several different ways, sees how it hits with the crowd. A lot of the time when you watch these big name guys in the small clubs, they're not there to entertain. They're there to work things out. They're there to figure out what works best. They're there to play with things. They're not giving you the performance that you get to see in the Netflix special. They're not giving you the performance that you're seeing in the stadium if you pay for the ticket and you go there. When I go somewhere else to train, I'm not training for the gram. I'm not training to impress the people that are watching, right? I'm training because I'm working something out because guess what? The only thing that matters for me is the trial field. That's where it matters, right? When the judge is there and he's writing things and you're getting points, that's where it matters. There's too many people in dog sport that are always training for the gram. They're always training for the crowd instead of taking the opportunity to work things out. What brought this to mind was I was recently, obviously, out and about training my dog in different places. And I'm always working things out when I'm training or fixing something or preparing for something. And I'm doing very targeted things. I'm very rarely like all the training that I do happens here at home, right? Anything new where I'm training something new. When I'm somewhere else, I'm working something out. That's what I'm doing, right? Because I'm preparing for the trial field, right? Anytime where I have to train my dog, make my dog look super good, whatever, this is happening here. The working something out happens at all the other clubs and the seminars and stuff like this. I'm not there to impress people. I'm there to work something out. And then the trial field is hopefully where we have the impressions. But it's funny. I was on the field with my dog, with my dogs. And my friend was on the field too. And there was people on the sidelines. And anyways, he heard some people talking, saying like, oh, you know, like, it's a good dog, but shit training, blah, blah, blah. And these types of things happen all the time. Doesn't bother me at all. But he told me it's funny after the trial, which we won, right? And we podiumed 2 dogs at that trial. He told me, oh, you know, like this person was saying that and that person was saying this. And I was like, yeah, that's okay. We won, right? Maybe now, maybe they understand why we were doing what we were doing. But they probably don't, to be honest with you. Because they're always training for the gram, right? And the gram is a figurative concept. Doesn't mean actual Instagram. For some people, they don't have it. Some people are training for the crowd. Some people are training for another social media platform, right? But my point is this. You train for the trial if that's what you're training for. Don't be training just to please the crowd. A lot of Australians in the house today. Hi from Poland. Poland in the house. I got to visit Poland at some point. It would be cool to see. How do you feel IGP compares to American Schutzen? It doesn't. American Schutzen's like, whatever, man. I would never do it. Brianna says, I have a puppy who loves to train outside, but when it comes to training in a building, she could care less for it. Gets lazy almost. How do I make it more fun for her? Secret sauce course. You need to teach your dog that it's extremely exciting, right? Think of whatever it is. So like if you have a dog that you're competing in bite sports with, is your dog ever bored with the helper? Is your dog ever bored with the decoy? The answer is, if you have a half decent dog, never, right? Why is that? When you answer why that is, you will always be able to make your obedience training fun for the dog, no matter where you happen to be. If you're just talking about like a regular puppy, I would say, your puppy doesn't need to like want to train with you. If we're just talking about functional obedience, it's not necessary. It's like, no, there are certain things that don't require engagement and, the puppy just wanting to do what you want them to do. Functional obedience is functional obedience, and it should happen regardless. How could I get into protection dog training? You can't. It's a pursuit that takes many years to master. A lot of people need to hear this, I guess. Like, you're not just going to become a decoy and be like a protection trainer. And listen, if you think you're going to go do that and make money, you've got another thing coming. There's absolutely no money in being a professional decoy or protection dog trainer. It takes many, many years to actually acquire the skill of being a good training decoy or training helper. And even when you're at the top level there's just not a lot of money in it, and there's a lot of wear and tear on your body. So if you're interested in that, I suggest you get involved in a protection sport as a handler and then kind of see where things go. Bethany says, I was a psych nurse with criminals, and they're basically doing cookie training with them. Doesn't work. Well, no, it doesn't work. They do the cookie training, but then they give them big, long jail sentences. So it's unfortunate, Bushcraft Texas says, love your videos. I have 2 Mals. Talk about awesome breed. Appreciate your tips, tricks. Making life with Mals such an awesome experience. Happy to hear it, my friend. D-Block Jersey says, is 4,000K USD good price for behavior modification of 4-week boarding for a 2.5-year-old Amish bred GSD? I don't know why you're telling me his weight. It doesn't matter. I don't know, man. Are they worth it? You could be $1,000 if they're a crappy dog trainer. It doesn't matter. It's not worth it. Let's see here. What else do we got? As usual, we always have a few haters in here, and I'll just remove them as they arrive. And make sure that they no longer appear here. Coach Mike says, what's up, Haz? Elite member here, just saying hello. Mike, nice to talk to you as always. Let's see what else we got here. How's Juice doing? Juice is doing wonderful. I have a German Shepherd and Mal. My experience would say German Shepherds work for me more. Mal works because he loves work more than he loves me. German Shepherd's more like a scientist. Mal acts without thinking more. It's pretty good as assessment. Malinois really enjoy patterns. And what is dog training? Dog training is establishing patterns, stimulus response patterns in the dog, right? So Malinois are bred, and so do Border Collies, by the way, but they're different because the Malinois carry a little more hardness, aggression, and independence, which is necessary for them to be able to do what they do at a high level. I'm speaking generally, of course. There's Malinois that are very much like Border Collies, are much too soft and much too nervous. And then there are some Border Collies that are hard and strong. But in general, these are generalities, right? Malinois very much love patterns. They love, figuring out the stimulus and response patterns, how to satisfy drive, so on and so forth. So, no, they're not working just because of they have this altruistic love for you. They are working because they love the pattern and they neurotically, become addicted to doing things in a certain way, especially when it accomplishes drive satisfaction or satisfaction of some sort that they perceive. German Shepherds are a little bit different. That's why I like German Shepherds a lot. It's not that I don't like Mals. I will have another Mal again at some point. Um, German Shepherds are more independent, right? If you have a good relationship, I think if you have a good relationship with any dog and it loves you a lot and it cares for you a lot and it, you know, has a good relationship with you, that this is good for the work. It helps in the work. But at the end of the day, I think German Shepherds actually are a little bit more independent. Well, they're a lot more independent and they're not as addicted to patterns. They can have just as much drive as a Malinois, but they are a lot less prone to being addicted to the pattern. So you have to be a little bit smarter in your training how you get the dog to really love doing what you want him or her to do. Bailey says, what do you think about pit bulls? I have a whole video on pit bulls. You can see a pro trainer, a professional trainer's opinion on the pit bull on my YouTube channel. David Hoff says, for the pro trainer course, are there still start dates or can I sign up anytime? We've now opened it to signing up anytime. Before I was really busy and I just couldn't deal with people in the in-between times, but now we've set it up so that people can join whenever they like, and then we'll deal with them as they come in. Interesting. There's just a lot of weirdos on here talking all sorts of nonsense. Making, I don't know. Must be like something like maybe they want you to go join their OnlyFans or something. What do I think of PSA? I have several friends now that train for PSA, and I think it's a cool sport. It's a fun sport. Grim Reaper says, hi, Has. When are you shipping the S litter puppies to BC? Next week. Probably later next week. We got Mark from NC. How's Ella progressing? Ella's doing really well. She's staying with one of my one of my trainers, like I told you, and she was actually at like a fireworks show recently, and she did really good with the fireworks. I know you guys have guns, and you were curious how she would do with all that. She does good with all that, but also the trainer that she's staying with, her dad shoots guns, so we're making sure she gets exposed to gunfire. But she's a real pretty dog, really dark sable dog. What else do we got here? There's a lot of weirdos on this one. Interesting. Never had to ban so many people. Brianna says, do you breed Mals? Been looking for a well-bred Mal for a while. Yeah, no, I don't really breed Mals. I do herder litters sometimes. But I don't breed purebred Mals. So if you're looking for an FCI registered Malinois, I'm not the guy. What's your favorite dog breed? I think everybody knows. It's the German Shepherd. Philip says, hello, Has been watching your content for a while now. Love what you put out, and congratulations for the win. Looking forward to seeing you up there again. Thank you very much. Onyx Von Diandico says, protection seminar in Florida. How's that looking? Lots of interest, I hear. Excellent. I don't know. I'm not the host. That reminds me. There are 2 seminars I need to mention. So I'm going to be doing a seminar here at Shield July 19th to the 21st. So those of you that want to work with me and Oscar Mora, you guys are welcome to come up. It's going to be a big seminar. while the seminar is at my place, I am not the one who's managing it at all. The host is actually Cognition Canine, spelled with a K. So you can look them up on Instagram. And they have like a whole website to sign up. It's a big thing. They're going to have sponsors here. They're going to have vendors. They're going to have catering. Um, it's a big thing. It's a 3-day seminar. Me and Oscar Mora. It's going to be focusing on, obedience and protection, trial prepping, like really good stuff. So it's going to be a fantastic seminar. And then in November, I'm doing a seminar in Ocala, Florida at the World Equestrian Center, and it's going to be an obedience and protection seminar. So, and for that, again, just check my Instagram. There is, if you just scroll down a little bit, you'll see the Has Othman Protection and Obedience seminar posted there on my Instagram. And that's the one in November in Ocala. You can sign up again through the host. I don't manage that. So, you know, don't ask me. My 2-year-old shepherd started PSA recently. When he does bite work, I notice he is a full grip, but he loosens up the grip and the pillow ends up in the front of his mouth. Is this a lack of confidence? It could be a lack of confidence. It could be he's bored. It could be a lack of drive. A lot of PSA guys, no offense to them, train very mechanically, right? And for some German Shepherds, for many German Shepherds to be quite honest, they need a little bit more emotional involvement. So when you're training very mechanically as a decoy, it's like grip in, grip in, grip in. Unless the dog has a lot of prey drive, that's not in and of itself particularly satisfying, and you'll see a lot of loose grips and munching and stuff like this. There needs to be a little bit of an emotional context to the training where the dog feels something and is getting something more than just the satisfaction of biting into the equipment. And that's something that it's hard to teach people how to do that, and that's where you need a skilled decoy who knows how to bring out the most in the dog, right? Or it could be a confidence issue. I don't know. I don't know your dog, right? How do you get over bite trauma? Former Dutchy survivor. I don't know. It's the same way you get over falling off a horse. You get back on. You try to be smarter for the next time, right? Devar says, just got a Doberman puppy, and your ultimate puppy to adult training videos are a godsend. I wish I could have you train him in protection. Thank you. I appreciate you. I wonder if these are bots. It's very interesting. It's just like random, weird comments that really have nothing to do with the topic at hand, just appearing constantly in the chat. Very interesting. Um, what do you think about Rottweilers for IGP? I've said it before. I'll say it again. Doesn't make any. Doesn't. It's not for me, But if you want to do it, all the power to you. Jorge says, are Rambo's siblings showing equal drive to him, or are they more mellow? Jorge, you're talking about your dog. If you're talking, I have a female I kept in addition to Rambo. By the way, I've decided to sell Rambo. And the reason I've decided to sell Rambo is not because he lacks drive. Actually, he's a very fun dog to train. It's because I do not have the bandwidth right now to train a PSA puppy. So I've decided to sell him. But to answer your question, no, they're actually all kind of the same, which is good to see. I like a litter that has that standard, like a standard to it. They're the same, similar, very similar drive, similar social behavior. Everything's very, very similar. Like I can't complain. The quality of the puppy's very good. I suspect that, maybe a year later I might regret selling Rambo, but the reality is I just don't have the bandwidth right now to train another puppy. I've got 2 IGP dogs going, and then I'm bringing along a 3rd and 4th IGP dog, and I'm like, what am I doing? I don't have the time to train a PSA puppy, so I will be putting Rambo up for sale. So anybody who's looking for a fantastic dog for PSA that looks like a shepherd but has the drive of a Mal, hit me up. Rachel asks an interesting question. Do you hope your son will join in the training when he's old enough? I have 2 sons, and I certainly do hope that they join me in training. But At the end of the day, they've got it. I don't want anyone doing anything like, especially something like dog training, if they're not passionate about it. So if they're passionate about it, then we'll do it together. And if they're not passionate about it, then, obviously they'll be more happy to do something else. And I will obviously support them in that. Must be bots. I wonder though, what would be the point of having bots make all these random comments about, you know, my cigar and just weird random remarks. Very interesting. I don't know. Um, Marcy says, "Good evening. For home protection, what do you think about lover then killer? As far as home protection goes, we have 3 mouths all in club. Couldn't do it without the support." I don't know what you're talking about, Marcy. In terms of protection work, I mean, a lot of it depends on your training and a lot of it depends on the individual dog and the individual dog's predispositions. Jan Critter says, "I'm just getting into dog sports and I don't get the difference between personal protection and PSA. I know that it's a sport, but it seems to have a lot of real life scenarios." Really? PSA has real life scenarios? Jan, I don't know what life you're living. PSA does not have real life scenarios. PSA has advanced protection scenarios, but they're certainly not cognizant of real life, nor, like, it's like, I want my dog to bark. I want my dog to guard. I train this in IGP. I want my dog to do a long attack and escape. I train this in IGP, right? PSA has all sorts of similar type exercises. They're just packaged differently, right? And there's control that is a little bit different in PSA, but I wouldn't say that PSA and personal protection are, side by side. They're certainly not. It's a very I don't train my protection dogs like I train a PSA dog. Blaine Sweeney says, "I'm on a wait list for a puppy from a good breeder, but I've wondered if I should buy a bit older dog so that I know the temperament better." Well, if you want to know the temperament better, then yes, you would buy an older dog. Zinni Zhu says, "How do you guys get started with protection work? I have a 2-year-old German Shepherd, and we're going to audit the protection training in a local IGP club nearby." No, I mean, you can certainly do that. I mean, just hire a trainer and get started. You know what I mean? You're in California. I know there's a lot of them there. Just jump in, hire a good one, hire somebody that has a good reputation, and get started. Let's see. Do I have experience with cattle dogs? Yes, I do. We train them. I have one in my kennel right now. We train them all the time. They're tough little dogs. They're kind of like a cross between a German Shepherd and a donkey. I like them. I've never really met one that I didn't like. Thoughts on Swiss Shepherds? Are they different to white German Shepherds? I've come across a couple. No drive and nervy. Well, Zach, welcome to what a Swiss Shepherd is, or a white Shepherd. No drive and nervy. That's pretty much a good description of them, but they look like a German Shepherd, but they're white with no drive and nervy. Roderick Barrett says, "How long do you think before the positive only fanatics force us to change how we train pet obedience and protection dogs?" Depends on where you are. In some places, much sooner rather than later. In other places, you might have 10 years. Mordecai says, "Thank you for the video that you put out today." I think he's referring to the video, IGP is dying. Mordecai says, "I put out just general training highlights, and I don't hide that we use prong collar, which is legal here in Norway. But people don't know that, and I get messages and calls that I should hide it." Yes, and this is the problem. Many of the times when I'm posting videos on YouTube, I don't actually need the e-collar my dog is wearing. Like, I'm not actually even using it in many cases in the video, but I leave it on because this is what I do. I could take it off. I know many trainers take the collars off when they shoot the Instagram reels and the YouTube videos. I don't do that because that's not real. I don't want to lie. I don't want to pretend something that isn't real. Now, guess what? In the dog trial, in when I'm trialing my dogs, there's no collars because it's not allowed for there to be collars when you're trialing your dog. Nor should you be able to use collars when you're trialing your dog. But in training, it's a training tool. Why wouldn't I have a train? Just like I have a ball, I have food, I have a collar. I have it and I show it. I will not hide it just to look good, right? And of course, you get all the comments. Oh, can you do it without the e-collar? Well, I don't know, motherfucker. I'll see you on the trial field, and we'll find out what your dog can do without a collar, and we'll find out what my dog can do without a collar, right? Of course, you'll never see those people on the trial field. But my point is this: we should not hide what we do. And I think in Europe, unfortunately, too many trainers have hid what they did and weren't honest and upfront about it because they just didn't want to deal with the drama that it would bring. And now they're in a position where, there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, our top trainers don't need this. Look, they're having success on the world level." When these guys are having, they're certainly using all those devices and more, but they can't be honest about it anymore because if they're honest about it, they're guilty of a criminal offense. Charles is asking me, oh, Charles, you're asking when am I going to begin evaluating the S litter? Well, the S litter is still not on site. I have all my litters whelped off site in one of my trainers' homes. And right now my kennel is full and I'm not bringing the puppies here. So I'm actually having the litter evaluated over there. I will say this, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I know a lot of people, because I shoot puppy testing videos, I'm going to give you guys an example. So I'm going to tell you something, and then I'm going to give you an example to show you that it's true. So in my recent litter, the R litter, okay, the one before the S litter, I shot a video of me doing a little bit of puppy testing with those puppies. And I said, this puppy is a lot of puppy. Like, this puppy is crazy. I have to be careful where he goes, so on and so forth. Because at the time, he was showing me a lot of things that made me think this puppy's just going to have really high drive and he's going to be a little bit more difficult to handle. Turns out that puppy is actually probably a very easy puppy. He has drive, but it's not extreme. And he's quite an easy dog to handle. And he'll probably be a fantastic pet dog. And he can also make, like, a club level sport dog. He can be a protection dog, but he's not extreme. And he's not a difficult dog at all. Conversely, one of the puppies that I wrote next to his name, Pet Quality, okay, like, he was social, he was mediocre confident, and he showed very little drive. Sold this to a guy that wanted a nice family dog. This puppy came back a few weeks ago, and his drive was what I would call extreme, and he was very difficult to handle. He was at a very young age already turning around when he was being held back from getting prey, like the flirt pole or something, and trying to bite his daddy. Actually did bite his daddy, and showing like so much to the point where I actually like said to the guy, I'm like, hey man, like I told my staff, I'm like, listen, when he comes back, say, look, we can switch your puppy out if you would like and give you something a little bit. We'll take that one and we'll give you something else, that's maybe a little bit more family friendly, because this is the reality. I do puppy testing for YouTube a little bit and because it's entertaining in the moment, but I actually don't really believe in it that much. I believe in big red flags. So if there's like a big red flag where it's like, oh wow, like this puppy is showing me some bad stuff. Okay. Those I take a little bit more seriously. But when we're like, oh, I want the highest drive puppy, blah, 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 blah. It's like, it's impossible to tell. Sometimes the puppy that's sleeping in the corner is going to be the biggest, baddest motherfucker in the litter. And the one that you think is the biggest, bad, the one that's so dominant and so like crazy, that one becomes in the middle or even lower, right? So I don't put a lot of credence in puppy testing, to be honest. I just look, it's a nice puppy, he's acting normal. Okay, I'll take that one. I told you guys this before, I buy puppies based on breedings. I buy them based on I believe in the breeding. I know that puppy testing is a very, let's say, it's not a settled science by any stretch of the imagination. And anybody that's been in breeding dogs for a while knows this. There are very, very few things that you can say definitively about a puppy based on puppy testing. I know people don't want to hear that, but that's the reality. Steve says, congrats on your victory. Could you do a video using a lab one day? I mean, we have videos of labs on our channel. I'm not personally training a lab, but, we have pet labs that come here all the time. And, that's fine. Let's see. Want to win $500? I don't know, Miguel. What do I have to do? Send you my banking information? Logan says, I see so many competitors in IGP being dragged to the car after their time on the field, but your dog seems to have a level of basic obedience. What's your thoughts on that? Yeah, I see that too. Control is control. If you have no control off the field, how can you really expect there to be control that's reliable on the field? I have control everywhere. I'm not being dragged. To be honest, I don't need a leash to walk to the field. My dog will walk next to me off the leash, and then I put him in it down, and then I switch him on, and then we go on the field, right? I do this all the time. I will not be dragged around by my dog. That's a horrible existence, So no, thank you. But some people believe that for the dog to be drivey, for the dog to be powerful, he needs to be out of control in every environment except the field. And I would say, well, your training is flawed. Where do you live? We live in Ontario, Canada here. Have a great weekend, everyone. I train with Hef in Guelph, but every time I see you, one of us is tied up doing something. I still haven't been able to do more than wave and say hi from a distance. Yeah, sorry. I'm always running around when I'm here, Like I've got multiple dogs to train. I've got multiple administrative tasks to fulfill. I seem to always be busy, I got to work on that. Try to be a little bit less busy. Raphael John says, hi, Has, coming from one of the best breeders of working line GSDs out there, do you think female German Shepherds tend to be a little picky than males? I've got a working line German Shepherd female pup at 10 weeks. No. I mean, if you're talking about food, no, I certainly don't think so. All right, let me just ban Miguel here. Give me 1 second. All right, good. Yeah, if she tends to get picky with the puppy food, don't feed her in the bowl. Make her work for the food. Yana says, hey, Has, how many greyhounds have you seen with behavioral issues? I never see them in training videos, and I'm curious how many of them you've trained over the years. You know what? I think we've only trained 2 of them. They are not a commonly owned dog around here. But they tend to be very soft dogs, very easy dogs. I've never seen one that actually had behavioral issues. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Obviously, it must exist. But they're just not a commonly owned dog, I see whippets a little more than greyhounds. Still not particularly common. And I've certainly never really... I mean, I've seen some whippets with behavioral problems. I've never seen a greyhound with behavioral problems. So, can't really comment on it. No, I'm not familiar with Jägermeister Shepherds. I'm not familiar with them. Favorite livestock guardian dog? I like the Caucasian Shepherd. Those are cool dogs. Lindsay says, in basic foods, do you fade the food lure first before introducing the ball? Or the other way around? Well, of course, you train with the food and then you bring in the ball into the picture. Have I heard from Kevin's owners? Yeah, Kevin's doing great. Victor says, hey, Has, congrats on the win. Jerry Bradshaw said he bought his first Malinois with a Canadian breeder. Would it happen to be you? No, it certainly wouldn't. Jerry Bradshaw is from before my time. Let's see. Not all dogs wear capes and not all dogs eat grapes. Actually, not true. I force feed my mutt a dozen every night. Okay. You are banned for that inane comment. Yeah, it's weird though. It's like, why would bots make, like, what possible financial benefit is there for all these random weird comments? You know, there is none. I think it's actually just like kids or something that are bored. Daddy Moon says, I'm still not able to subscribe to your channel. I've been an avid supporter of your channel for a few years now, but now I keep getting unsubscribed. Weird. I don't know what to tell you, man. What size prong collar is your usual go-to for the typical German Shepherd? 3mm or 2.9mm? I have a 9-month-old German Shepherd. She is so sweet and loves everyone. Will she defend the family if something happens without training for family protection? Probably not, but, you know, I don't know your dog. There's so many things, right? Could we just see a short clip of the S litter being puppies? Better things to do, I'm sure. AK Jill, they're on my Instagram channel. So if you go on the Instagram, you will see litter videos of the S litter puppies being puppies. I don't know what extreme drive is, but my German Shepherd's entire body will tremble and his jaw will chatter just at the sight of the tug toy. We play tug every day. That's definitely a symptom of drive. Extreme drive, the best way to describe extreme drive is, you know, that if the dog makes a slight targeting error, or if you make a slight error in the delivery of the toy, you're going to get seriously injured. So a dog like Chico, for instance, if I make a mistake with how I get the ball, he might just take an entire finger with the ball, right? Like it's extremely dangerous because it's extreme, right? Grim Reaper says, I know Swamp's dad is extreme. I was chatting with a Schutzhund guy who is a helper and has experience with elk, which is Swamp's dad, by the way. He said the dog wouldn't out and is super extreme. Grim, here's what I've learned. There's a lot of people that mislabel the product of bad training to be extreme. You know, that's all I'll say on that topic. I don't know the dog personally. I have no doubt that Elk was a good dog, a strong dog. Was he extreme? I don't know. Never met him. Shayna says, I see a new course on the Shield Canine site, the Elk course. Yay. Well, yes, Shayna. And since you have the gold membership, you can access the course. So please enjoy it. Grim Reaper says, please try to select me a good drive for an active family. I do not need an extreme dog who is nasty to everyone. I appreciate your time. Yeah. Oh, is this Damien? Damien, don't listen to those old timers. You know, they're cool and all, but those guys, man, the way they train dogs in the past, you know, they made things worse. They made things a lot worse with, like, just methods that weren't clear to the dog, methods that created a lot of problems. It's not going to be, this litter will not, you notice that when I describe the litter, I don't describe them as extreme. Why? Because Yarrow is not an extreme dog. He has good drive, and he's not extreme. Swamp, also not an extreme dog. She has good drive. She's not extreme. Extreme is a very, you know, strong word, and I don't say it lightly. And a lot of people, listen, I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to offend certain people that may watch this that I don't have a bad relationship with. But like I said, a lot of dogs are mislabeled extreme when they're not. Let's leave it at that. I think my cigar's dead. Someone asks me a good question. Have any of my dogs ever been through panasitis? How do you mitigate it? Yes, many of my young dogs and puppies have gone through panasitis. I usually leave it for a couple of days and it goes away, or if it's really pervasive, You go get an anti-inflammatory at the vet, and just carry on. It's not a big deal. Just make sure, you're not feeding your dog super rich food and they're not growing too fast, Sometimes I'll move puppies off puppy food into adult food. I've had people recommend, and I did try this, and I will say it worked, to give the puppy the pregnancy vitamin, the vitamin for women that are, and I'm not a vet, so I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just saying I've heard this and I have done it. Okay, that you give the puppy the pregnancy vitamin, the multivitamin that women take before they give birth. And that it clears it up. I did try it. It did clear up. I don't know if it cleared up just on its own, but I did give that vitamin. So I have heard that. I've heard some people say vitamin C. At the end of the day, it always goes away. Aaron says, hi, Has. Thanks for the book. I thank you. What cigar am I smoking? I'm smoking a Front Street Habano, and it's good. Roderick says, I watched your video on pedigrees and watching the working dog database videos when looking for puppies. Do you think a grandson of Bolyanica, you mean Bolyanaka, is a good second dog? You're asking me about a grandson, my friend. It doesn't matter. You know how many grandsons Bolyanaka has? He has like many. I think I even have a puppy that's a grandson of him. It doesn't matter. It's who are the parents, then who are the grandparents. That is what's important. And you're talking about 25% of the genetics. Well, Bolyanaka was a dog that carried a fair bit of reactive aggression and also some drive. He was a bit of a nasty fucker by all accounts. He was a little bit on the smaller side. But you've got a lot more than that DNA going on in there. So you better know more than just Bolyanaka. Okay, we've got Better Built Dogs, Protection Foundation's member and fellow trainer. Are you planning on adding into the course in the future? If you're talking about the Protection Foundation course, yes. I will make some adjustments to it. I've been meaning to, but first I got to do my structured play course. That's the next one. As already mentioned, the send out course. But I do mean to go back into that course and maybe change some of the things or make it maybe a little bit more simple or updated. But, not a lot has changed. I'll put it that way. What I do in that course is still very prevalent, very relevant. CL says, been to a few decoy and protection seminars, and many people say Doberman are primarily defense-heavy dogs. Is that true? Before I speak to that, let me speak again on the protection course. It is 100% relevant. The only thing I would change in that course is I had put too many videos in that course. And I think there's too much TMI, too much information in that course. Just because I have protection in and of itself is such a complex topic. You've got prey dogs, you've got defensive dogs, you've got dogs that are motivated by social aggression. You've got dogs with higher drive, lower drive, good grips, bad grips. There's so much complexity to protection, and in trying to address all that complexity, I provided a ton of information that I think would be overwhelming to someone who knew nothing about the topic. So it's one of those things where I would suggest you watch through the course, you do some work, go see some work, be involved in some work, then watch it again. And it's one of those courses that every time you watch it over and over and over again, you'll get something else, something else, something else, because protection is such a complex topic with so much nuance and so much variability attached to it, that it's not possible to just take it in and understand it in one go. So you're saying Dobermans are primarily defense-heavy dogs. Is that true? Yeah, they typically tend to be. Have you ever seen a Rottweiler with extreme drive? No. Grim Reaper says, those old-timers are scaring me. Ha, ha, ha. But I have complete faith in you, Has. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I've heard crazy stories like, oh, this puppy you sold me is so crazy, blah, blah, blah. And then we bring the puppy in and it's just an average working line puppy. But listen, if you don't know what you're doing, you're not training the dog, you're not working with people that know what they're doing, yeah, it can seem overwhelming and it can be scary and it can be like a lot. But I'll tell you this, Bang, who is the half brother, half sister, I should say, same mother line, right? That black puppy I have, Bang, who's not a puppy anymore, she's like 16, 17 months now, is the sister to Yarrow, right? And they're very similar dogs, social, happy, confident dogs. Now, Swamp is social. She's confident, very confident. She's drivey, but it's not extreme. It's not like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my fingers kind of drive. Um, you just have to train the dog properly. This is a working line dog. It's a well-bred working line dog. It's not what I would think would be an extreme dog. I would doubt that there'll be an extreme dog in the litter. But there might be. It's always possible. Listen, when any German Shepherd that's from half decent lines, you go back a few generations, you've got some real motherfuckers in there, right? Because that's the type of dogs that people were using for a very long time, and sometimes those genetics come forward. You must be prepared. You must have good training in place, and you must be ready to train the dog properly. But the great thing about German Shepherds, and the great thing about Swamp, and the great thing about Yarrow, is that they're very stable dogs, and they will tolerate a lot, and they're good with the handler, right? Swamp was a little bit more like bitchy with the handler. She would take advantage a little bit of the handler, but listen, Swamp right now, the girls in my kennel deal with Swamp, and she tried some silliness with them, and you know, they trained my way, right? So they fixed it, and she's a good girl with them now. But this is my imperative. I don't use half-ass dogs. I don't use weak dogs. If you want that, you must go somewhere else. And you must be ready for a dog that has substance, that has intensity, that has some character. And if you're not, I'm probably the wrong person to deal with. Uh, Yesenia says, I really like the video you did with Gage and Yaxi about sport dogs protecting for real. Any plans on trying civil with Chico? I think the last thing I need to do with Chico is any kind of civil work. I need to keep him very clear and very much in the routine of IGP. I don't need him to go out of control. Wendy says, your dog Chico seems to have intense drive. Just curious, does he ever have a day where he decides he wants to die for the ball and will not out until you go extreme with him? Um, no, Chico always outs because like we've already had these conversations. There's no day where he's gonna all of a sudden decide he's not gonna let go. It's like we've already had that conversation. You will be letting go, right? So it's just about being clear with these dogs. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden I've come to this decision. I'm not. No, we've already decided. He already learned. There's no I'm not letting go. Sometimes he might not let go as soon as I would like him to let go, but he does let go. And I always have an answer when I'm working with him, right? When I'm working with Chico, we haven't been working together long enough that I operate without an answer, right? Without the ability to make him, right? I'm consistent. You have to be consistent with these types of dogs. Yesenia says, also, maybe I'm biased, but the S letter is the cutest I have seen you post. We are so excited. They are they're like little bears, They have like little they're very like they're smaller puppies because there's 10 of them, right? It's not because they're going to be smaller in the future. I predict they'll be like medium to large size dogs just like their parents, right? But because they're whenever you have like a big litter, they tend to be a bit smaller in size just because there's only so much milk to go around. It takes them a little bit longer to grow. So they look like little bears, but they're very well built dogs, very cute little dogs. James, if your 3-year-old dog is having pano, it's time to go to the vet or find a new vet. Actually, see if it is pano, because 3 years is pretty old to be having pano. Get off that raw diet, probably. I would go to like a Royal Canin adult German Shepherd and food, and then see what we can do. But 3 years is very old to be having pano. I don't know. You have a dent on your head. You talk about here? It's when I was young, I fell on a skate that was upturned. Canadian problems. Your definition of extreme drive fits my dog. If he misses the tug or if I make a mistake, I'm going to lose a digit. He bit me once in the beginning. We worked slow after that. Love the content, by the way. Appreciate you, man. No, I do not smoke weed. Mentioned months back that I thought my puppy was expressing dominance across the board. Turns out he's part Sarloo. Don't know what that is. Would you consider doing a podcast on breeding quality German Shepherds? I believe that we have a podcast on that with the one and only Stefan Schaub, who is the breeder of Kennel von der Staatsmacht. So you can check that out on YouTube. Choosing between an Australian cattle dog and a German Shepherd, can you compare which is smarter for active person? What's the difference? It's not about smarter. It's about, I would say that the German Shepherd's a little more biddable. You know, a cattle dog that is well bred will be probably a little bit more nippy, a little bit more hard headed. You know, if you're getting like, especially if you're getting a working bred one, I would get the German Shepherd unless you really want the cattle dog for the qualities that a cattle dog has. Hey, how is Roman doing? His sister is doing fantastic. That's from Ryan. Ryan, Roman's doing quite well. He's a sweetie pie. Chandra says, I thought I missed it. You didn't miss anything, Chandra. I'm still here. But after I'm done, I will obviously leave this up so people that are watching now can go back and rewind and start from the beginning. Dog Walk Rehab says, if you're working with a client whose dog has or is showing signs of human aggression, when do you know when to back out? What do you mean back out? I have a no dog left behind policy. There is no backing out. Christopher Gerhardt says, could you explain the difference between training, herding, and hunting breeds? Well, herding dogs, I mean, they have very different, they're both operating in prey, right? Like people don't realize, like a herding dog, they're using, like a border collie, for instance, has a ton of stock. They have a fair bit of pursuit. What they're missing and what they've intentionally bred out is the grip possession portion. They'll still bite a sheep or bite a cow or whatever, but it's like bite, let go, right? They're using they really focused on the stalking portion of the prey. That's why you see they're always like stiff and they're stalking the prey. Same with the German short-haired pointers, right? But they're just operating in different, like if you watch my video on prey drive, this may make more sense to you. But prey drive isn't one thing. Prey drive is actually many things, okay? You've got, you know, hunting, you've got stalking, you've got arousal, pursuit, grip, possession, right? There's a lot of components to prey drive, and with different types of dogs, you know, whether it's a herding dog or a hunting dog, they're just operating in different places. Like the prey drive was they focus in the breeding on the prey drive in one place, and they actually breed out the prey drive in the other place, just because it's like, for instance, with the hounds. Okay, maybe with a lot of the hounds, we want them to bark a lot. We want them to make a lot of noise, and we want them to hunt really well, find the odor, follow the odor, make a lot of vocalizations as they're following the odor, and then like bay up the prey, so that we can come and finish it off with either catch dogs or finish it up off with a gun, so on and so forth, right? Ryan says, love to hear it. We love our puppy from you. She's everything we could have asked for. I'm happy to hear it. She was a really cool puppy. Dog Walk Rehab says, if the owners are unwilling to or unable to follow through with the program. Well, yes, that goes for any kind of training. If the owners are unable or unwilling, I'm out. So yeah, I mean, herding dogs and hunting dogs, I mean, they're both operating in prey, but generally in different capacities because they have different end uses. Have you seen the new U.S. university study on the smartest dog test? Kelpie and Malinois topped the list. Yeah, I mean, what is smart? There's a lot of different types of intelligence, right? A lot of people are like, oh, I want the smartest dog. Really? Do ya? I don't want the smartest dog. I want the bravest dog. I want intense dog. That's the type of dog I would like. I don't necessarily need him to be a genius. That's actually, the smarter he is, probably the more self preservation he's going to have. I don't want too much self preservation in my dogs because that's not good for my particular end use, right? So you got to really think about these things. Like, what does smart mean? Okay, putting together patterns faster. Okay, that might help you. Depends on what you're doing with the dog, right? But everything's a spectrum, and you can define a certain thing a lot of different ways, right? Biggest mistake. Let me see here. What we got here? Uh, Biggest mistake people make while training their adolescent teenage dirtbag of a dog. Alicia, it sounds like you're very frustrated and angry. I would suggest understanding that if your dog's not listening to you, it's probably not because he's a teenager, and it's not because he's an adolescent or whatever, people come up with to make excuses for why the dog isn't listening. It's because your training sucks, right? And I'm not saying this to you to put you down. I'm saying this to you to kind of grab you and shake you a little bit and be like, hey, smarten up. Your training sucks. That's why he's not listening to you. Find better training. Find a training system that actually works, right? I don't have problems with teenage dogs or puppies, land shark. Oh, he's a land shark. He's biting me. I can't make him stop. Oh, he's the doggy version of a 16-year-old. You know what? My human teenagers are well behaved too, okay? And so are my dog teenagers, right? Your training has to be good. It has to be clear. It has to make sense to the dog. There's no magical age where they just stop listening. There's training systems that work and training systems that don't work. I would strongly suggest that the training system you're using probably isn't working, isn't very clear to the dog, and what you made a mistake. Here's what a mistake a lot of people make. They got a puppy, right? And the puppy is a little bit more scared of the world. They're a little more sensitive. They're highly dependent on you, so they always stick close to you. And they're very like willing to do things with you and for you because you're their everything. Just like a little child. I take my little 2-year-old out. My little 1-year-old, he wants to stay close to me. He's a little scared of the world. Everything's new, everything's big, everything's scary. Now he's 14 years old. I was relying on that. I was relying on that state of mind that he had instead of actually training him and teaching him what is and what is not and what he should do and what he should not do. And now he's a big boy now. He's 12, 14 years old. And he says, screw you, Dad. I don't need you anymore. I'm going to go out and do what I want to do. Because I didn't train him. Now that's the situation, right? It's the same with your dog. And this is what a lot of people do. Oh, my puppy's so well behaved. He listens. Yeah, because he's scared of the world, right? A lot of people don't know that. It's like he's a little insecure about everything, and he stays close to you, and he listens to you, and he takes your hot dogs and everything else. But now he's a big boy, and he's becoming more confident in himself, and he's becoming more exploratory, and he's going out in the world and finding that things aren't so bad as he thought they were, and actually things are really fun out here. There's things to chase, things to smell, things to do. Screw you, Mom. I don't listen to you anymore because your training sucks, right? So your training must not suck anymore. For that, I recommend my online courses, Elite Off-Leash Obedience, or buy my book. It will help you understand. Or find a trainer that actually knows what they're doing. CL says, what's your opinion on dog independence? Many big names in PSA here in the U.S. have said they prefer an independent dog. Is there such a thing as too much independence? Well, yes. There are breeds that are very difficult to train because they're highly independent, like livestock guardians, for instance. They're bred for their independence, right? They need to be out there by themselves most of the time, if not all the time, doing their job that they were bred for. That's why livestock guardians aren't so easy to train because their level of independence is really, really high. The problem is what tends to happen when you have an extremely biddable dog, a dog that's like really into the handler, they tend to be a little bit softer, right? The border collies, some of these Australian shepherds that you see nowadays, some of the Malinois that you see nowadays, they're very, it's a weakness inside of them that makes them highly dependent on the handler, right? Yes, they like working for the handler, but there's also an element of weakness there, right? For PSA, if you want a strong dog, which a lot of people that aspire to do well in PSA or IGP want. You need a dog that has a little more independence. It says, I don't need you all the time, Dad. I'm willing to go there and find out what's going on over there. I'm willing to go through that problem, that adversity, that difficulty, and engage that target or whatever it is. These are the types of dogs we need for law enforcement, military work. I would say advanced search work, so on and so forth. You need dogs that have some level of independence, not too much that they won't work with you and have zero desire to work with you, but not so little that they're soft and nervous and they can't do anything without you, right? Lone Rider says, hi today, and maybe tomorrow Belgium Mali come into this world. So I want to ask, after how many days is it good to bring home after feeding mother milk? Basically, from breeder, he told me after 41 days. I don't understand, but like I will say this, I wean my puppies usually around 4 weeks of age, and they don't come home until after the first shots. 7, 8 weeks is when you should take the puppy home. Some people take them at 6 weeks after the first shots. You can do it. Just make sure you have puppy food. Some people mix some formula with the food so that it's a little bit softer. Some people just put water in the food. Um, you know, that's all I can tell you on that. Hunter Kill says the tracking course also serves to find people who are buried under houses, such as when a tornado passes by. Well, um, that's not the design of the course. The design of the course is to teach footstep tracking. But if you can parlay it into that, all the power to you. Bethany says, crazy chat tonight. Indeed it is. Tyson says, hey, Hass, love your content. I'm also doing your off-leash course online. 3-year-old Rottweiler, tons of drive for ball in the yard, but loses the drive for food and ball when out and about. Well, that means that your dog is either nervous or overexcited by being in new places, and that the drive for the food and the ball isn't as high as you thought it was, because if it really was high, he would take it anywhere and everywhere. So, you know, I would say that if your dog is afraid, you must work him a lot in public until he kind of becomes a little bit desensitized to it. And if your dog is excited, you must work him a lot in public until he becomes a little bit desensitized to it and he's able to calm down. Okay, Alicia, if you read my book, you know the answers to all my questions, all these questions you're having. He's obeying and becoming territorial and is about 9 months old. Yeah, I mean, that's still quite a young dog. Territorial is normal as long as you're able to say, listen, man, it's time to stop now. If you're there and the mailman comes and he's freaking out at the door, you should be able, if you read my book, to tell your dog to go to his place and be quiet. And if he doesn't listen to you, you should have a solution for that problem. Roderick says, in your Becoming a Dog Trainer video, you talked about selling dogs for the cheap to get more experience. Would someone buy a neutered, sheltered German Shepherd for pet or protection if the drive was good? I don't know, man. You got to look around, see where you're at. The market is very different in different places. Jesus Christ says, I won't buy your book. You don't even shout out super chats. It's an interesting name, Mr. Jesus Christ. Don't buy my book. Don't buy my training videos. I could give, you know what? I'm a man of God. I shouldn't use that word, but I don't care. You know what? I'm babbing you. That's one stupid comment too many. The world is too full of stupid people that are feeling the freedom of utilizing the freedom and the privilege of the internet to spread their stupidity far and wide instead of just shutting up. Back in the day, people would just tell them, hey, you're stupid, be quiet. And maybe they might learn from that and become marginally more intelligent. But nowadays, these people are celebrated. And they get off on the attention their stupid remarks gain them because there's nothing else of meaning going on in their lives. I have a 5-year-old pit bull that will listen to any and everything I want her to do, with the exception of other dogs and or animals. Well, she has an exception, so you must train her that there are no exceptions. Like, there's nothing I can tell you in a live. It's not because I'm holding back or I want you to buy something from me. Again, I don't care, right? Uh, You need to train your dog in a structured way. Your dog needs to understand motivation and obligation. That's what all this stuff comes down to. My dog won't listen except. My dog won't do X. My dog will not stop doing Y. You must train your dog to follow your instructions, to stop when you say to stop, to do when you say to do. This is fundamental dog training. My book, the Elite Off Leash course, all of these things are answered in there. It's a nuanced thing. It's not like, oh, do this and your dog will listen, or do this and your dog will stop. That's not the solution. That's not how it works, right? It's not complicated, but it's complicated enough that there's not just like a one-liner or one thing to do. There's many things that you should be doing. What advice would you give your younger self to be a successful dog trainer? I don't know, man. I was always like, I've one of my things that, everybody's got talents that God gives them, right? And one of my talents is the ability to look at something and see, will it work or will it not work? So when I got interested in dog training, I did what most people did. I bought some books and I perused the internet to see what information there was out there. And there was like more bad information, and there's still probably even now more bad information than there is good information. But being able to objectively look at something and say, okay, will this work? Like, will this work? Like, as this process is described, will it work? And utilizing some common sense and being like, will it work? Right? Um, and saying, well, there's no way that's going to work. So, for instance, there's a lot of ladies selling books that say, you will use a clicker and you'll use hot dogs and a long leash, and you can teach your dog to come reliably. And in my mind, I said, well, I don't know a lot about dogs, but I know that there's a lot of interesting things in the world that a dog wants to do other than eat hot dogs. Yes, they like hot dogs, depending on the dog. I did know at the time that some dogs really actually didn't care so much about the hot dogs. But I figured, but there's a bunny over there, and there's that tree that the other dog peed on over there, and then there's another dog over there. But why is he always going to pick the hot dogs? That doesn't make any sense, right? Like, yes, he'll take the hot dogs sometimes, but there's no way that's going to be reliable that he'll take the hot dogs all the time. So I was able to look at the training as described and say, okay, this is horse shit. This isn't going to work. Then, utilizing, again, some basic common sense, looking on the internet, okay, like, there were YouTube videos at the time, not nearly as many as there are now, obviously. YouTube was kind of like more of a newer thing when I got interested in dog training. But there was enough. Like, there was enough stuff out there. You could see, okay, like, okay, this person says they're dog training, that person says they're a dog trainer, but that person's dog's always on a leash and a harness. And that guy's dogs, they're not on a leash at all. They're next to him, they're off leash, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they're wearing an e-collar, maybe they're not. But that guy's dogs are like not wearing anything, and they're running loose, and he calls them and they come, and there's other dogs and people around. Oh my God, he's crossing the road and he's got 3 dogs off leash next to him. I want to do what that guy's doing. Because this other person that's talking about the cookies and the clicker and the tug rope, that weirdo looking dude, he's not doing what this other guy's doing, right? And he looked kind of weird too. It's, a little bit flamboyant, a little bit strange looking, right? But this normal looking dude with the off leash dogs that's, walking everywhere and so on and so forth, this is what I want, right? And I was able to look at that and, okay, what's he doing? What kind of courses does he have? What seminars, so on and so forth? What can I pick up from his YouTube videos? What can I pick up from his book if he has a book, so on and so forth, right? So this is what I did. And I have the ability, too, to be able to watch something and replicate it. Not everybody can do that, right? Just like some people can't read something and do it, they have to see it happen. I can read something and replicate it. I can watch something and replicate it. That's one of my God-given abilities when it comes to dog training anyways. Don't ask me about some other stuff. But dog training, I can do it. Like if I see a trainer do something, I can replicate it pretty easily and start experimenting with it, right? Even if he didn't mean to give the information away, I can see him do it in person, or I can see him do it in a video and then kind of understand what he did and why he did it. And I was always kind of able to do that to some degree. So, having a bullshit detector and understanding what's good and what's bad information, that's big. And then from there, I think that was one of the biggest jump starts I had as a dog trainer. Now, what advice would I give myself? Hmm. Man, I don't know that I would change it. I don't know what I would change what happened. Like, I mean, I can't think of anything where I'm like, you know what? I would give some advice. I would say, get less frustrated. Get less frustrated. Because I'm a more I type A personality. When things don't go my way, I tend to get a little more frustrated. So where there were times when I got frustrated with myself, with the dog, with somebody else that I regret. I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd taken it a little bit more cool and thought my way through it a little bit more and been a little bit more fair. You know, there were times when I did things that were unfair, and I regret those things. Right? But that's part of life's journey. You know, no one's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, and I'm willing to accept that I've made mistakes. But you know, this is life, right? TSUV says, I learned so much from your videos that you helped me with my present. Now listening to you, I have even more. Well, I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. You know, I'll say this, man. Like, at this point in my dog training journey, super rewarding, super fun. I still got a lot more to do with myself and my dogs, but one of the greatest blessings of what I get to do for a living is seeing other people be successful with information that I provide. Seeing other people not having to go through, um, let's say, the learning and the growing pains that I had to go through. They get to jump off from, you know, a much higher place because that information is now available through my courses, my book, or just my free content online. That's super rewarding. I didn't even think of it. I didn't think about it when I did these things, right? But now that it's happened and I see a lot of people having the success that they're having and being able to utilize the content that I put out there for the benefit of themselves, their dogs, their family, their income in some cases, right? It's fantastic. It's really, really cool, man. You know, it's one thing that I think is an imperative that you leave something behind of yourself that is more than just your personal gain, whether it's an accomplishment or financial. Being able to see that other people benefit from what you've done, you know, is really cool, and I want to continue to do that. What else do we got here? Grim Reaper says, I do not want a weak, watered down German Shepherd from elsewhere. I'm ready for my S litter puppy with strength and character. I can definitely handle him. That's the spirit. AJ Red says, just want to say I love your videos. I have a question for you. Why is IGP your favorite dog sport? Because it's the most complicated and the most competitive. And I'm a competitive individual. And I fell in love with how difficult the sport is. And I love that. I love that. I love things that are hard, and I love things that are competitive, and I love things that, you know, there's just something when you're able to show a powerful dog across those three phases, the tracking, the obedience, and protection, super rewarding. Even if things don't go your way, it's still super rewarding, and I really enjoy that. I love my craft. I love training dogs. And IGP is a fantastic way to express that. Emma and Adam say, love your channel and your work. I've enjoyed it. Hope you can continue to be free to talk and show your dogs in an over the top, politically correct world. I hope so as well. But the reality might be something different. We don't know. Joaquin says, thanks for the live. What do you prefer for a German Shepherd, the Boss or the Sport Hunter 1825 from Dog Sport? I know a lot of people love that 1825. For me, I'll use a double Boss any day of the week. Better built dogs. Touche. Touche. All right. Do I know Robert Carell? No, I don't know Robert Cabral. But I have listened to a few of his podcasts. I find them entertaining for the most part. Sydney says, Elite member here. Love your videos. Just try to get some advice. What do you do about a dog that is desensitized to the prong collar? I move off of it. I don't stay on there, right? I just move past it. Remember, the prong collar, the e-collar, they all work on the same exact principle, right? How often do you train? Daniel Carlson says, how often do you train your dogs without shock collar and prong collar? They are forbidden in some countries. Yeah, they are, Daniel. My puppies typically, like if you're talking about dog sport, I will train without it usually for like the first 8 to 10 months, and then I'll introduce it because everything I did was preparing for it because it accelerates things. It is a fantastic gas to add to your training. I'll give you guys one thing before I leave. I'm going to tell you one thing. So after trialing, again, those of you in my trial prep course will understand this a little bit maybe. After trialing, typically I'll train my dogs with the devices on, but I will not use them for a couple of trainings. And the first thing that I bring back in the training is a reward. When you remember, when you trial, no devices on the dog, no reward for the dog. The first thing I will bring back is the reward. Okay, so like I'll do a training, maybe halfway through, I'll suddenly reward the dog. And you'll see the drive comes up, the hope comes up. Oh shit, I can get this after all, right? But then in the next few trainings, I'll bring the e-collar back, right? I'll make gas with the e-collar, and you should see the difference in the drive when you add the e-collar versus when you add the ball. The ball brings some drive, but when you add the e-collar, it makes everything double. It's like nitrous, right? Fantastic. But it's hard to explain. You have to go through it first. Margot says, I love your passion and the ability to express it and help others. I'm 85 years old and have been training dogs since 1963, and I've learned so much from you. You're never too old to learn. Margot, I'm really happy to hear that you're 85 and still training dogs. That is pretty awesome. That's pretty, and I wish you a continued long, happy, and healthy life. Ed Baumgartner says, hello from Maryland. I really appreciate your videos. They have helped me a lot. We have similar attitudes as far as dog training goes. Awesome, man. Happy to hear it. I won't say that other word. That's not a word I think I should say on my channel. Better Built Dog says, it's amazing to me how much jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai parlay into dog training. I have found a lot of things that I learned to get my brown belt and BJJ actually translate to protection work. Yeah, my buddy Lucas, who's MMA coach at Aegis MMA, says the same thing all the time. He's like, bro, this is like exactly the same, which is why he's fallen in love with dog training and protection sport. Flag America says, I learned to off-leash train my Rottweiler because of your free videos and book. That is awesome. You inspired me to start dog training. Can make a video or live giving advice to become a successful dog trainer. I kind of have already. So I suggest you go and just check my content and maybe search the term dog trainer or dog training. Wolf says, big thanks for your e-collar videos. With your guidance, I've trained my Malinois and Cane Corso to be fully off-leash. I'm so happy to hear that. Old School ADK Whitetails says, just got your book and enjoying it. Train retrievers for hunt test. Have my first German Shepherd coming early. Fall protection training is my new passion. Will your videos get me there from pup to adult? Thanks. Yes, they certainly will. If you want to learn how to use an e-collar to train functional obedience, my Elite Off-Leash course goes through all that. Trenton, I have no comment. Onyx Von Diandico says, I've heard you say many times that you made a lot of mistakes with Onyx. What were they? What have you learned since then? Too much pressure, sometimes in the wrong times. Not making him maybe active enough in the obedience. I would have shaped some of the behaviors a little bit different. Again, Onyx, just like Chico, was a bit of a reclamation project. So there was a lot of like kind of bad training to undo. I'm simply just a way better trainer now. So there are just a lot of things that I would have done different from a mechanical perspective and from an emotional perspective with the dog. And I would have had so much more success with him. And I probably never would have sold him to you because I wouldn't have screwed up enough of the training that I would have cost myself too many points in the trial, right? Yeah. So good for you, bad for me, but hey, everything's a learning process. I'm doing much better with his son than I'm doing with him, even though he's a much better dog than his son is. Velcro says, have you noticed an increase in people wanting protection dogs? I can't say that I have. I think, people are, um, I think people have always kind of wanted them. All right, guys. I think I'm going to call it a night on this one. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you all a happy and successful weekend with your families.